Great. Thank you, Nico. Saved my
You're
butt.
welcome. And I'm not even a technical guy.
Well, yesterday the recording option was right at the top of the screen. Yesterday, it moves around. Depends on what computer you have.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, and we got Kerry Patowski here, which is nice, and Kevin, Kerry's boss. Hey,
Well,
Kerry, Kerry, can you hear us okay? See us okay?
Yeah, I can see you guys.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to mute you again now. Just mute yourself, Kerry.
we should start, Sean.
Okay, hang on, waiting room. Hang on 1 second. I got more people in the waiting room. Hang on, Nico. 5 people in the waiting. 6 more people. Okay, let's let these guys join. Another person's coming in here. They're still coming in. Let's just give them a second here.
Okay. Miles, you'll be flipping these pages, huh?
Yep. I'm just getting it all sorted out in my head what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And here's
Wonderful.
another. Joseph Grosso's coming in.
That'll be nice.
Here, just 1 more second. We'll see what happens here. Everybody seems to be running a little late.
Okay, no problem.
A pretty nice turnout. Thanks everybody for joining. We appreciate it. Okay, let's get rolling here then, Nico.
Okay.
Good day, everyone. We're having this webinar just to bring you up to speed on what's happening with the company and the plans for the coming year, and then we'll answer a few questions afterwards. Nico, I guess Miles, you begin.
Yep. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for either attending, especially attending this live presentation, or tuning in at a later time when it gets delivered into your inbox. But we have a very special and unique company here with Argentina Lithium. We've got an excellent opportunity. We're a junior company, I think, that in the lithium space that really stands out from others. Not only in terms of the depth of experience that we have through the Grosso Group and the depth of our team, but also through the partnership that we've been able to forge with Stellantis, one of the great automobile makers out there, as we move forward here and put together the next lithium deposit and get prepared to put it into production. So, next slide, please. In this presentation, I just want to caution everybody that we'll be making some forward-looking statements. So this is the disclaimer here. Just keep that in mind. Next slide. So I'm going to be very brief about this because we're assuming that all of you are either investors or are currently interested in investing in Argentina Lithium. So our projects are situated in northwestern Argentina within what's known as the Lithium Triangle. The Lithium Triangle is a very unique and important region in terms of lithium in the world. It has more than half of the world's lithium is situated here. It encompasses parts of eastern Chile, a little southern Bolivia, and a big chunk of northwestern Argentina. And what's unique about this is that the deposits of lithium that occur in this part of the world occur in brines, the salt lake brines, or salars as they're known in Argentina. And what's important to note about salars is that the lithium here amends itself to very economic extraction. So, especially with the onset of direct lithium extraction technologies that are coming online right now. So, Argentina represents arguably the best opportunity in which to make these new deposits, new discoveries, because it's the most underexplored of these three countries that are shown here on the map. Argentina has a very small history in mining, and discoveries are well underway. And we're well situated throughout that region in over two provinces with four projects, which Miles will be going through in more detail a little later on. Another important fact to note is this part of the world also has excellent infrastructure, roads, power, water, rail, and that's all very, very important because that contributes to lowering future potential production costs. Next slide. As I mentioned at the opening, Stellantis owns 19.9% of our Argentine subsidiary. They also have an option to convert that to 19.9% of the parent company at a time of their choosing. And they invested in us and we signed an offtake agreement with them whereby they will, we will sell to them when we do go into production, up to about 15 tons per year of lithium carbonate over a period of 7 years, and then that's mutually extendable even further. Next slide. And what's attracted Stellantis to us besides our projects and our team, and it's the who we are. The who we are Grosso Group. Grosso Group is the management team behind Argentina Lithium. The team Grosso Group has been active in Argentina for over 31 years, since back in 1993, headed, of course, by Joe Grosso, the president and founder. And, this group has developed an impeccable reputation in that country. It gives us a competitive advantage in not only acquiring new projects but also in bringing in contacts and a network of contacts throughout local government, throughout the industry, the mining industry, and so forth, and makes us stand out. And we basically have a status in Argentina that is much larger than our status in the markets here. And this brings not just, like I said, great projects, but it also brings forward great opportunities like attracts companies like Stellantis. Next slide. And the Grosso Group, of course, over the last 31 years, through other companies that we've managed, has had an excellent track record of success, having made 4 major discoveries, 2 of which are in production. One is the largest undeveloped silver deposit in the world, and a big deposit in the southern part of Argentina, the Amarillo Grande uranium vanadium deposit. Next slide. And here's a slide of the executives and the board of directors for Argentina Lithium. Joe Grosso, who is the chairman of the board. He's also the founder, like I stated earlier, of Grosso Group. He's been inducted into Argentina's Hall of Fame, again, giving a significant status to their company and to our network throughout Argentina. And of course, throughout here, I'm not going to go through everybody, but everybody contributes in technical or financial sense in a very unique way. We have a very, very talented team here, and everybody's been with the company for a significant period of time. And with their expertise, I think we have a real blue ribbon team here that's managing the company, moving it forward. Next slide. The lithium battery, I won't belabor this, but suffice to say, Argentina the price of lithium over the last year has had a pullback, but I can assure you that through our discussions and meetings with Stellantis, the demand for lithium is still there. The electric vehicles that are driving a bulk of this demand for lithium are being manufactured, and so the demand isn't going to go away. There are games, I think, being played by countries like in China that are playing with the price, but that is not a long-term thing. So we firmly believe that the price of lithium is going to pick up, and it's been doing so, and the market is beginning to reflect that. And furthermore, Argentina has become a very attractive place, not just to look for lithium, but also for just general investment, as the new president, Milei, streamlines and makes the country much more business friendly, and is very much encouraging investment in mining, and specifically together with the provinces encouraging exploration and mining in the lithium space. Next slide. And this brings us to the overview of our projects, and I'm going to pass it on to Miles, who'll give us a brief overview, just specifically with Rincon West, and then outline what our milestones and expectations are for the coming year. Miles?
Thank you very much, Nico. Okay, so looking at our projects, just a quick recap if anybody was unfamiliar. Looking at the figure on the left-hand side, Rincon West, which is our focus and has been our focus over the last 2 years, is our northernmost project. We have 3 properties at Rincon West. In the Rincon Salar, which is the blue shaded area shown in the top part of the map, the central ground holder is Rio Tinto Mining, one of the world's largest mining companies, and they are moving ahead to build a 50,000-ton lithium carbonate plant in the central property at Rincon. Our properties are located on the west side, where most of our drilling has been. On the north side, and I can point that out, so on the north side there, where last week we received our permit to start drilling. And on the east side of the property, our Don Furman property, where we made an announcement a couple of months ago of geophysics results, and hopefully we'll be able to start drilling there around the midpoint of 2025. Standout features at Rincon, the property size is about 5,000 hectares. Rincon itself is a mid-grade brine basin, so grades in the range of 300 to 400 milligram per liter lithium. That's excellent for taking into production, as demonstrated by Rio Tinto. And so our strategy at acquiring Rincon was pick up as much ground as possible in a mid-grade basin adjacent to a major producer. The exploration then involves establishing the same brines that the mid-grade, sorry, the mining producer holds, extend onto our project, and then we can develop a way how to take that project into production. So that was Rincon West. We have a similar scenario. Look on the left-hand map at Antofalla North. So Antofalla is this very long, narrow salar here. It's about 150 kilometers in length and about 10 kilometers width. The central part of Antofalla is held by Albemarle Corporation, the world's second largest lithium producer. And our property extends from the northern limit of Albemarle and extends for 27 kilometers to the north. And it's a very similar scenario to what we have at Rincon. Albemarle has a mid-grade project here. When they acquired the property, they acquired an area which was estimated to have about 11 million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent brines, with a mid-grade ranging in the order of 350 or so milligram per liter lithium. And so very similar setting to what we have at Rincon. We're beside a major producer at Antofalla. We haven't started drilling yet. A key difference, though, whereas we have 5,000 hectares of ground claimed at Rincon West, we have more than 10,000 hectares claimed in Antofalla North. When we're in permitting right now, but when we can begin drilling in Antofalla North, if we can produce similar grades to what Albemarle has, that will be a major discovery for our company, and I think it would really change the market image of who Argentina Lithium is. The 2 remaining projects are more strategic plays on our part. We've looked at how the lithium industry has developed over the last, say, 20 years, and the trend has been for, in general, the lithium prices to increase and uh, extraction technologies are improving. In fact, there's a revolution currently underway in extraction technologies with a variety of direct lithium extraction processes coming online. With a view to that, then, we've acquired two very large projects in lower grade salar basins. So this northern one that I'm circling is Pocitos. We've got 26,000 hectares claimed at Pocitos. Um, the grades, well, historically, all drilling on the Pocitos basin produces lithium grades, but typically in the range of 100 to 150 milligram per liter lithium. Using modern direct lithium extraction with a large project area, we expect that this would be extremely viable. And so once we have Rincon West on its way to production and hopefully Antofalla North well along towards production, we will move our exploration assets onto Pocitos with a view to developing the resource there and then plotting a route to production at Pocitos. And then our southernmost area is Incahuasi. It's a very similar story to Pocitos. We have 25,000 hectares claimed there. Four historic wells that we drilled averaged 109 milligram per liter lithium. And we will be doing geophysics there in the next 18 months or so to establish the limits of the brine aquifer and to then plot out how to drill out that aquifer. The idea is both Pocitos and Incahuasi could be very large tonnage projects, albeit with lower grade. And we took those at a time that was those projects were very economical for us to purchase. We could get very large land packages when we moved in this way, and we're anticipating the market direction that projects like this will be the order of the day in about 5 years' time. So that's a roundup of the properties. Let's take a close look at what we're doing at Rincon West. Okay, so the green shaded blocks are our properties. The name Rincon West was assigned to the project because we began on this western block, which I'm outlining here. And then we subsequently acquired the northern block called Paso de Sico and this eastern block, Don Furman. But the three blocks together comprise our Rincon West project. The central area is Rio Tinto mining, and Rio Tinto is moving ahead with a very large production plan here. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but there's a peer company called Argosy Minerals. They're an Australian junior developing their Rincon project here on the southeast side of Rincon, and they announced a very large resource, and they've seen excellent movement on their stock over the last 2 years, taking it to a high point of the equivalent of $600 million market capitalization over about a 5-year term. They've come down off that peak currently, but it's a well-managed project, and I would like to emulate what the Argosy people have done on their project, but we have about twice as much ground on Rincon to explore and develop. I didn't mention this. My background is I'm an exploration geophysicist, and this will likely become obvious as we go through some of these slides. I like to do imaging of the brine aquifers prior to drilling when we can do so. So this is the map on the right-hand side shows our West Block property. And the blue lines shown on the map show where we've conducted transient electromagnetic sounding surveys, which allow us to delineate electrical resistivity from the surface down to more than 500 meters depth. I've taken one of these cross-section views of the ground and I've blown it up on the right-hand side, so left-hand side. So I'll just show you what we're able to see with that kind of imaging. So you can see the flat surface trace of the ground. And then we're going through resistive sediment. Resistive is this white or light blue color that you see. And so the sediment units there are about 50 meters deep of dry sediment. And then we transition into freshwater saturated sediment, which takes us down to about 100 meters depth. Fresh water is very important for a lithium project. It's something that we've looked for on all of our project areas, and I anticipate that every single one of our projects has fresh water available for when we go into production. Anyway, at 100 meters depth, we transition from fresh water into a lithium brine, and those lithium brines on this project typically persist down to 300 or even 350 meters depth. They're in the typically sandy sedimentary units. When we drill, we're using diamond drilling so that we can extract core. The core is assayed for brine recovery parameters. And so between sampling brines as we drill a hole and then recovering core, and typically we're sending core off in 10-meter intervals. We send off for brine recovery testing. And so we're able to determine what the resource potential is for the project. This is work that is ongoing right now, and hopefully maybe in Q2 of next year, we will be able to make our initial resource announcement for Rincon. Anyway, based on this geophysics, what I've done is I've shaded with yellow where we expect the brine aquifer to be in that west block, and it represents about 65% of the area of the property claimed. And so that was our information going in when we began drilling. And so this is now showing our drilling here. We have about 5,000 meters drilled in 14 diamond drill holes. And if you analyze the numbers shown on the screen, it basically repeats what I was explaining previously. We get into the brine interface at about 100 meters depth. We quickly climb in grade to about 250 milligram per liter lithium. And then those grades increase up to as much as 400 milligram per liter lithium before we hit the basement volcanic units at 300 to 350 meters depth. In contrast to what Rio Tinto has, most of Rio Tinto drilling is in the first 100 meters, and their resource, their historic resource at least, is perched from near surface down to 100 meters. Our setting is quite different, where we've got our brine resource from about 100 meters down to about 300 meters depth. So we have a large volume of brine down there. And very fortunately, lying above our brine resource, we have a freshwater resource, which will be fundamental for getting our project into production. So that, I'll just point out while we're looking at this map, the hole on the far east and south side is a rotary well that we're just completing now, and we're doing a pump test. So we'll be finishing that work in the latter part of November, and we're looking for a permit to continue drilling on the west block where the other 9 holes are drilled, and we want to do 2 rotary wells there with pump testing, hopefully between Q1 and Q2 of next year. That rotary drilling and pump testing allows us to upgrade the resource classification and get it into a reserve category, complete with some engineering studies. And when I'm describing rotary wells, these are basically production quality wells that we're drilling for these pump tests. So later on, when this is an advanced project, these will be areas that we can commit to our production plan. We came out with a news announcement last week that we'd received the drill permit for Paso de Seco. So that's circled in this map on the north side. It's 800 hectares in area. It's undrilled, and we're just wrapping up and analyzing the geophysics now, but we have some brine targets to follow up there. We'll be moving a drill rig onto Paso de Seco before the end of November, and I expect we'll be completing 6 exploration holes at Paso de Seco over the next 6 months. While we're looking at this map, you can see that there's a tremendous amount of infrastructure runs beside or over Paso de Seco. So there's a 345 kilowatt power corridor, which is just being constructed right now over the property. And we've met with that power provider. There's two highways. There's the international highway to Chile. So that means we're only about 250 kilometers from the deep sea ports in Antofagasta, Chile. And there's also a provincial highway running obliquely through this figure and connecting us to the Don Furman project on a property on the east side. There's two local towns where we currently base our exploration crew, and we hire a lot of personnel. There's a lot of favorable infrastructure for taking this project into production. And because of the favorable transport and power situation, I would imagine that Paso de Seco will represent an important part of the engineering project, with a lot of our plant located at Paso de Seco. And then we'll be connecting our West Block and our Don Furman Block to that area as alternative or extra brine source properties. And then finally, while we're looking at this figure, Don Furman is on the east side. We made an announcement about geophysics results there. Here we are. This announcement came out about 3 months ago, I think. So with our permitting, we were able to complete the geophysics at Don Furman already. And if you recall what the previous geophysics figure looked like, this is the same kind of presentation. So we've got the rather flat surface. We go through dry or fresh water saturated sediment, and we get into brines again in the order of about 100 meters depth here. And in this case, we're seeing a very uniform flat basin at about a basement at about 250 meters depth. Because we're adjacent to the Argosy property, and we know that Argosy have halite or a salt unit in the lower part of their property, I anticipate that very uniform basement that we see on our property would actually be salt layers. And so potentially there is brine potential within those salt layers. But in any event, the upper 250 meters look very prospective for drilling. We're in the process of securing our drill permit. Hopefully, as we wrap up drilling on Paso de Seco in about 6 months' time, I imagine that we'll be acquiring our permit for Don Furman in roughly that time frame, and then we can move the exploration rig onto Don Furman and keep drilling through the latter part of 2025. I'll make the point. Oh, and both area we scheduled 6 drill holes for both those areas, so that's about 6 months drilling, and likely we'll be doing rotary drilling to follow up with pump tests. All of that drilling has been funded by our friends at Stellantis. Stellantis has provided funding to allow us to continue drilling for about the next 2 years. So all of the work that we're looking at right now, we can fund all of that through Stellantis's investment. I'll just recap here Antofalla North more in detail. I showed it previously, but this is an excellent project area. We have more than 10,000 hectares, 13,000 hectares claimed here, immediately north of Albemarle Corporation. Albemarle is that narrow black line. Our property is undrilled. We have historic geophysics in the north, which demonstrate that the basin here is 500 meters depth. We were able to complete, through our permitting, the southern part of the property last year. And so we're actually working on targeting how to do drilling here once our permit comes through. And once we have a permit to do geophysics in the northern part, we'll be completing the geophysics picture here. But if we can produce brine similar to what Albemarle has, Antofalla North is going to be a major discovery for us and for all of our investors. I won't spend much time on Pocitos and on Incahuasi. These are both very large area plays, 26,000 hectares in the case of Pocitos, 25,000 hectares in the case of Incahuasi. Lower grade basins, typically in the range of 100 to 150 milligram per liter lithium. Not our focus today, although we are advancing geophysics. We've in fact completed all the geophysics at Pocitos. And we'll be looking at how to take these projects into production once Rincon West and Antofalla North are well on their way. This is the work program then. It's pretty obvious that we're focused on Rincon West. So completing a pump test on the West Block at Rincon West. We're going to be doing 2 more rotary wells on the West Block on Rincon West early next year. And we're moving the exploration rig, a diamond drill rig, onto Paso de Seco this month, and that will take us about 6 months to drill that property out. We're doing permitting on Don Furman, and hopefully we'll be able to start drilling Don Furman in the second half of 2025. We've completed much of the geophysics required at Antofalla North, and we're just wrapping up permitting there. And hopefully we'll be able to get going drilling on Antofalla sometime during 2025. Pocitos and Incahuasi, as we have exploration assets available, we do assessments on these areas. We also are looking at, in general, other property acquisitions. When we do acquire properties, we typically look to acquire them around our current exploration areas. So we don't want to have a myriad quantity of random properties. We're always focused on acquisitions to increase our resource base in our focus areas. And so Pocitos and Incahuasi, we've been able to grow those projects, and also Antofalla North. And Pocitos and Incahuasi focus currently has been geophysics at Pocitos. We have a geophysics program in the cards over the next year or so for Incahuasi. But the focus obviously is Rincon West. That's it for me. Nico, would you like the screen back?
Yes, thank you very much, Miles. So we can see we have a very good capital structure, just 134 million shares out. And our market cap, well, just hovering around 20 million. I've been doing a pullback, just like the rest of the explorationists throughout the industry, but with one big difference in that a lot of other exploration companies will either go on care and maintenance. We actually have the luxury, because of our partnership and investment through Stellantis, to be able to have all, like the previous slide showed, a multitude of milestones to look forward to continue to advance our projects, to bring them to the resource stage, so that when we see the general big turnaround in the lithium space, Argentina Lithium could be in a leader there and be out of the space first, and out of the gate first, so to speak. Next slide. Well, that's the overall overview. Like I said at the outset, Argentina Lithium is a unique company, a unique exploration company, in that we're with the funding that we've received. We're well positioned to execute on a number of exploration programs and achieve a number of milestones, and sort of become a little agnostic to the overall conditions of the market. At this point, I'd say I'm opening up to questions.
Nico, we have a few questions here, Nico.
Sure.
And Miles, the first question, please clarify the final outcome of the Stellantis deal as far as the conversion into Canadian dollars. This is a big question everybody has, because it was quite confusing, as you know, when we put it out, what the conversion rate was going to be and how we're going to handle that. So if you could clarify that, Nico.
Absolutely, Sean. It was everybody's right to be confused. It was a very confusing time. It was last year in October, just before the elections, when Milei was running, and the markets there the financial markets in Argentina were quite tumultuous. The inflation rate was ramping up close to 200%, and we were closing up a deal with Stellantis. The deal we had with Stellantis was in pesos. We got 31.5 billion Argentine pesos. That's what we got deposited. And then the question was, what does that translate to in US or Canadian dollars? Like, what's that worth? That was really the question. And in Argentina, the official exchange rate was frozen during that time because of the tumultuous financial economic environment and inflation. You couldn't get money out of Argentina, at least not the way we wanted to. It was capped at $200,000 equivalent a day. And then there were multiple exchange rates. So when we spoke to Stellantis, we spoke with our auditors, spoke with legal counsel. The advice was stick with the official exchange rate. So the official exchange rate, it translates to 90 million US dollars. But if we couldn't if we could take all the money out and translate it into Canadian or US dollars, we wouldn't be using the official exchange rate to get it out. That wouldn't be the way that reality would be. We'd be using all kinds of alternative blue chip swap rates and whatnot. So there would be a substantial slippage from that money coming out. It would be worth closer to $40 million. So again, we operate in Argentina. Stellantis put that money into us to spend in Argentina. It wasn't meant to be spent to taken out outside of the country. Well, not meant, but we're not permitted to. So it was pesos. So we got $31.5 billion pesos. We reported according to the official exchange rate. You know, is it 90 million? Is it 40 million? It's somewhere in there. You know,
And Nico,
it is confusing.
and Nico, also, there a good question is, so why did you receive it in pesos? Why did you take the money in pesos and not in dollars?
Because that's what Stellantis was paying in.
Yeah, and because they had money that was in Argentina and they want to utilize those
They
pesos.
had pesos in Argentina and they wanted to buy into pesos. We had operations in Argentina. We had a use of pesos. So it was, you know, fundamentally it makes sense. But then you throw in afterwards an environment where financial markets are changing very rapidly. It required our team to pull together some experts to see how we can preserve the value of the funds that we received. It's why we bought all these 15,500 meters of drilling. We bought geophysics. We prepaid down our flagship projects, property payments and whatnot, being able to spend the pesos, but in ways that would advance our projects and move the company forward as it was intended.
And then Nico, I think it's also important to state that this was all part of the deal with Stellantis, knowing that we were going to have that much slippage. Everybody knew that. So when we worked with Stellantis to doing the deal,
That's right.
we understood that going in.
That's correct. Yes, that
Yeah,
was.
it wasn't like it was a big surprise for us or anything.
No. It wasn't a surprise at all. The only surprise was that at the end, you know, as was the restrictions on moving money out that came after we received the check from Stellantis. So all of a sudden we had all this money trapped in Argentina because we had been planning to, as soon as we get the money, park it outside of Argentina and then begin to filter it back in so we can preserve its value. That wasn't the case. So we had to come up with alternate plans, and that was prepaying services that we're going to be using anyways for our exploration
Okay.
program.
And Miles, a question for you is, I guess our biggest milestone that's going to be coming up is the resource calculation, correct, Miles?
You have to unmute him, Sean.
Oh, sorry about that. Hang on, bear with me for one moment, guys. Okay, there you go,
Thank you,
Miles.
Sean.
I
Yes,
apologize.
sure. Of course, as we work through, we announce our results. So we'll be looking for drilling results at Pastelcico, drilling results at Don Furman. But we've been working on the drilling and now the resource estimate for the West Block. And so our first resource estimate, and hopefully that'll be during Q2 of next year, or be wrapping up Q2 of next year. We'll get that resource estimate out. And then as we complete each subsequent property, we'll be adding on to that resource estimate. And I'll just make the point, while we're doing all of this, we're also looking at processing technologies and starting the testing to take Rincon West into production. It's our core project area. Things are looking very good. All the work we've done so far is basically validating our original hypothesis on the project. So there should be positive news. And I guess the next big one would be the resource estimate.
And I think it's also important to let people know that Rio Tinto's made a huge investment in their pilot operation. I believe it was about $350 million investment. Is that correct, Miles?
It was more than that. But yeah, they're making they were, well, if you go back in time, they were going to make a $300 million investment, but now they're building a 50,000 ton plant at Rincon. And I believe their investment is closer to $2 billion.
Wow. Okay, that's good. That's good. I wasn't up to speed on that one. But it's going to be great, folks, because there are a lot of things they're doing, we're going to be able to mirror. So on one other question here is, Nico, is Stellantis prepared to commit more money to advance the projects?
Absolutely. Stellantis remains committed to our project as we move forward we hit milestone achievements that they'd like to see us. They would be prepared to support us and to be there with us moving forward.
Okay, Miles, and how many drills do you expect to be working at one time on these properties in the coming months?
Um, we'll have one single diamond drill rig running on Paso de Seco. We'll be drilling on the west block with a rotary rig at the same time. We might consider putting two rotary rigs on at the same time on the west block. That's something that we'll have to look at. When we get the permit to drill on Don Furman, likely that would be two diamond drill rigs running on Don Furman. As I say, that drilling is all funded, and we would like to move forward as quickly as possible. And so, uh, when we're able to advance work more quickly, we will do so.
And Miles, what the average cost of each drill hole is what?
Um, Typically, we're drilling holes which are about 300 to 350 meters depth, and typically those would cost about $350,000. Um, the rotary wells are a little bit more expensive. They're about $2,000 a meter for the rotary drilling. So, for instance, the 450-meter deep rotary well that we've just completed, we haven't announced the results from that yet, and we're starting the pump test. That's on the West Block, and that well cost us about $900,000, and it was about 6 months' work to get it done.
And is there any water issues, Miles, as you look to going towards production? This seems to be some complications for a lot of lithium companies.
Well, it's an issue on any project. If we're talking about brine production, we also have to be talking about fresh water. The local communities are very sensitive about people disturbing surface water, so the rivers and things like that. And so, if people are looking at what goes on in Argentina and looking at the certain community activity, those guys are concerned about the surface water runoff. Um, when we're talking about water in Argentina Lithium, what we're talking about is subterranean water. So this is water that we can image with our geophysics, and we're also using hydrogeological models. We determine where the water is likely to be. We're picking up water-rich projects or properties with all of our projects, and so I'm certain that each of our four project areas have abundant water resources. We do need to do the drilling and the hydrogeological modeling to quantify those resources as we take any of our projects through to pre-feasibility. But we typically don't announce our water results. But I know we've intersected fresh water in all of the drilling that we've done on our west block. It's typically 50 meters in thickness, lying above our brines. And I'm working with our hydrogeological consultants currently to model that water resource, but it's not accidental. We've been looking for water resources in all of our projects, and so as we move a project into production, it's simply a matter of quantifying the water resource and then getting permitting and everything else we need to take it into production.
Miles, another question here: as you move towards production, are you considering bringing anyone on as operators, or do you expect to be operating the production yourselves?
Um, Prior to the Stellantis investment, I think that our main plan was to look for a partner who could bring perhaps funding, technology, and production know-how into the project. With Stellantis behind us and sort of shoring up the finances of the company and also providing us, I think, a better market image, I think that now we're looking at that we could potentially take Rincon West into production ourselves. Um, but we will be assessing that as we go along. If you look at the historic deals done by the Grosso Group, typically the Grosso Group have attracted major players to come in on their projects and fund and develop the projects, and usually then retaining a minority interest in the project as it goes to production. I think that's a very prudent policy. It's worked well in the past. And so if there's something like that in the cards for us, well, that would make sense too.
Okay, everybody's being very patient here. There's just two more questions that we'll get to. And if there's any other questions, email me directly and I can set up meetings with whoever you'd like, or we can have those questions answered for you folks, because I've got a lot of questions here. Let's just wrap it up with these two. Do you foresee any issues with local communities as you're in your working areas as you progress, Miles? What is the community
Um,
relations like?
Actually, I mean, all of our work, we're beginning with the community work before we do anything on the ground. We're in touch with the communities. The communities where we're working are very pro-mining, pro-investment, pro-business. And then the next thing is the provinces of Salta and Catamarca have very smartly uh, asked all the mining companies to employ 70% local personnel. And what that means is that any project as it moves forward, the local communities are invested in that project. That's where people are employed, and it's building out these project areas. Um, and if you talk to the provincial authorities, they're looking at mining as well as being the primary driver of employment in this arid high plain that we're working in. So
Good. Okay, good.
so what that means is that local communities strongly favor projects like ours, and they are participating in the projects today, and they will be employed by our projects and providing services to our projects, for the next 25 years, something like
Okay,
that.
let's wrap it up with this last question here then. And like I said, anybody questions that we've missed, please just contact me. Permitting, how is it going in the provinces you're working? And as you move towards production, what difficulties do you see with permitting to production?
Um, but both provinces of Salta and Catamarca are pro-mining provinces, and so both have multiple operating mines currently, and they have a long history of mining. And so the steps to take a project through exploration and then mining and then finally mine closure are all very clearly laid out by the provinces, and those steps don't change. They're the same rules that were applied 25 years ago still apply today, and they apply for gold, copper, and for lithium. Um, so the permitting is not a mystery. The only issue is sometimes the permits take a long time because it's a hotly contested area. There's a lot of companies working in the lithium triangle in Argentina because the prospects are good. It's an excellent investment destination. So when the province takes time in awarding a permit, it's because they have so many permits to do, in front of them, and they're just trying to take them down in order. That's all.
Okay, listen, we'll wrap it up here, but I just want to say you're all aware that we announced the financing coming up because we are um, responsible for operations in Canada and some in our offices in Argentina outside. The money that Stellantis invested is money that's spent on exploration and drilling. We're looking at alternative ways to finance the company, so we are in talks with Stellantis and we're working closely with some of our larger shareholders. And we'll try to limit dilution in the company as best as possible in these down markets. And but the company needs to move forward, so that's why you see us doing a financing here. But we're doing our best to keep the dilution down. As you see, their share structure of this company is still quite reasonable compared to our peers, and we're going to continue to work on that. So if anybody has more questions on the financing, please contact me. Nico, I'll turn it over to you to wrap.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I hope that this it was very interesting and informative for everybody. I'm very pleased to see such a wonderful turnout to our webinar. Look, Argentina Lithium, we've got a real talented group of people that are running the company right now. We've been able to advance our projects really quite nicely, very well, and we're continuing to do that even through this down market. We're fortunate to have a backing by a major automotive maker like Stellantis. We work very closely with Stellantis. We're on weekly calls with them, and they know exactly where we're at, what we're doing, what the next steps are. They are very, very keen to see us achieve production in very short order, very quickly, and they're trying to see what they can do to assist us. So, for me, it's been a pleasure to see all of this coming together. I think as we wrap this year, we can hold our head up high and say, okay, we've made some major achievements. But I think next year, with new permits coming in for new properties, maiden resource calculations, and getting into some engineering studies, I think it's going to be a very, very exciting year for the development of Argentina Lithium.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We appreciate you attending, and make it a great day.